Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Everything Real Estate Investing Show. In today's video, we are going to do another Bay Area real estate market analysis, and we're going to see how the market has been during this first month in 2021. So for those of you who don't know, we get our data straight from the MLS itself. We're going to see all of the properties that were bought and sold and how long they've been staying on the market. And this will tell us if the real estate market is healthy or not. So we are based in the Bay Area, and we're going to go to our favorite website, mlslistings.com. You go to matrix search, and then you end up over here. Through here, you can go click on statistics, and you can create our wonderful charts. Since we are based in the Bay Area, we're going to be focusing on Santa Clara County, San Mateo County, Alameda County, and San Francisco County. So let's start with Santa Clara County, and let's see how this market has done during this first month of 2021. What we're going to do is go here, click on SCC, Santa Clara, and we're going to look at residential single-family homes. We'll go through the single family homes first and then go look into the condo/townhouse market. So in general, let's go here to average days on market and sale to list price ratio. We can see that in January, the sale to list price ratio has gone up almost 1%. And the days on market has also increased by a little bit. So that shows that there's a slight decrease in the velocity of the sale. So it takes a little bit longer on average to sell the property. But the price has actually increased, at least the price to list ratio. So if we look at the actual data, we can see that the number increased from 103.6 to 104.4. So again, almost a 1% increase in the sales to list price ratio. And for those of you who don't know what sales to list price ratio is, it just means that on average, what will the property actually sell for relative to what it was listed for? So if a property was listed for $1 million, and the average sales to list price ratio is 104, that means that on average, the home will sell for $1,040,000. So if we go to listings by price range to just see what the properties are being listed for, we can see our three peaks here in the 800 to 1 million range, 1.2 to 1.4, and $2 million to $3 million range. If we look at the months of inventory, we can see that the months of inventory have increased a little bit from our valley in December. So it was at 0.7 months, now it's a little bit over 1, so at 1.1. So what this means is if there are no more homes that are put on the market, and if properties keep selling at the same pace that they are right now, then in 1.1 months we'll have no more homes on the market and you'll just have no more real estate to buy. So if we look at the number of homes sold versus sold, we can see here on last month's analysis that a lot of homes were being sold, but not a lot of homes were being put on the market. And so when that happens, typically you have less inventory and the same amount of buyers, which means that all the properties that are on the market increase in price. So here, for the first time in a few months, we finally have more properties that are put on the market than were actually sold. But even then, you can see here that it's not a lot. There's only a little bit of inventory. And historically, a year ago, you would have 800 or so. So overall, again, still looks like market is very healthy here. So if we look at sales price over time, we can see there's a giant spike here in February of 2021. But don't worry, this is a glitch. This is the first day of February as of this recording. So it's saying that the average sales price is 4.3 million. Obviously that is not true. It's just probably the only property that's closed on today, like the first day of February. So if you look at the sales by price range, it's again those three peaks that we saw before, which makes sense. The listing prices and the sales price should be very similar. If you look at the sales volume by area, we can see that most of the sales, at least in the dollar amount, are made in Morgan Hill, Gilroy, and San Martin, then Willow Glen, then Los Gatos, then Sunnyvale. And on the very end is Milpitas and Santa Teresa. So this is the time frame from last year to this year. So over the past year, this is the trend. So overall, if you want to flip houses and you want velocity, you want something to sell quickly, go for these areas, Morgan Hill, Gilroy, and San Martin. Next is Willow Glen, then Los Gatos. And if you want your property to sell on the market where there's not a lot of transactions, then you can do yours in Milpitas. So this is what the chart is for single family properties. Let's go back and change it a little bit so that we can look at townhouses. So now we're back here. We're looking at condos and townhouses. Let's take a look at the average days on market and sales to list price ratio. So it seems like the condo market got a little bit worse. Instead of 30 days on market, now we're at 35 days on market. And the sales to list price ratio has gone up just a little bit, like 0.5% from December. Not even. So it went from 104 to 106%. So if you list a condo at a certain price, on average, that's the price that you're gonna get when you sell it. And let's look at listings by price range. I guess most of them are in the $600,000 to $800,000 price point. If you look at number of homes sale and for sold, more inventory relative to the amount sold. This has been a trend for the past year. And in these giant peaks right here, this is just signifying that there is more inventory than there are properties that are being sold. So if we look at the months of inventory, we can see there's a slight uptick, but not too bad from before. Not like this other peak in September of 2.8. So this one's at 1.8 months of inventory, whereas in December it was 1.3 months of inventory. So if we look at sales volume by area, it seems that most of the condos being sold are in Sunnyvale and Santa Clara, and on the very bottom it's going to be South Palo Alto and Alum Rock. In general, I would recommend that people stay away from condos if they're trying to fix and flip it. But if you're looking for a long-term play, it could be good to buy a condo simply because a lot of people are moving out of condos. They're sitting on the market a little bit longer. So if you plan on living it in a very long time, then you could buy it at a lower price and then sell it in the future. All right, so let's move our search to San Mateo County. So San Mateo County, let's look at single family homes first. And let's check out the days on market. So here too, seems like it's increased a little bit for the days on market, but the sales to list price ratio has also improved. Our listing price are same as before. Obviously these are shifted more towards the right because the Peninsula costs a little bit more than the South Bay and Santa Clara County. If we look at the months of inventory, you can see that this one has an uptick as well. So properties are sitting longer and they're not being sold as quickly as before. Looking at the number of homes for sale versus sold, we can see that more homes were put on the market than were sold last month, but overall not too bad. I think usually during the winter months, people don't like to put their homes on the market anyway, so you typically have less inventory versus in the summer months. So sales price over time, on average, it looks like again, this is the opposite of Santa Clara County, where you had one property sell for 4.5 million. Here, you probably had only one property sell for 1.2 million, which dropped the average by a lot. But in January, the average price was 1.968, which was a little bit lower than what it was in December at almost $2 million. So if we look at sales by price range, again, similar chart to what we saw for listings by price range. And most of the homes in the Peninsula go for $2 to $3 million. So if we look at sales volume by area, we're going to change this a little bit because I don't like the way it looks. So let's change this by city. You can see here that most of the homes being sold, at least on the dollar scale, are in San Mateo and then Redwood City and then Menlo Park. Whereas on the very low end, it's going to be East Palo Alto. And this is from March of 2020 to February of 2021. So now we're going to look at condos and townhouses for San Mateo County. So we can see that the sales to list price ratio has decreased from 99.5% to 99.2%, and the average days to sell have increased by a little bit from 37 to now 38. So condos and townhouses are sitting on the market a little bit longer than before. If we look at the listings by price range, we can see a peak here at 6 to 800,000 and a peak here from 1.2 to 1.4. Let's look at the months of inventory. This one also went up to above 2 months. And look at this one. It looks like even less got sold last month than before. And we still had a lot of inventory coming up. So let's look at sales volume by area. And let's change this area to cities. So most of the condos being sold are in San Mateo and then Foster City. And the ones that aren't selling are in East Palo Alto and Atherton, Brisbane, and Belmont. Yeah, so overall, the Peninsula market for condos aren't doing so well. Let's go take a look at San Francisco County. All right, so for San Francisco, average days on market. This one's pretty similar to last month, 32 days on market on average, but the sales to list price ratio has gone down a little bit. If we look at the months of inventory, we can see that the months have increased from a little under 2 to almost 3 months of inventory. So this means that properties in SF are sitting on the market a lot longer than a similar home would sell in the South Bay. So if we look at the number of homes for sale versus sold, yeah, not surprising. We have a lot more influx of inventory versus the number of properties that actually got sold. So that's why properties are sitting on the market even longer. Let's look at the sales price over time to see where price has gone. So it seems like the price has increased a little bit compared to how it was in December. This again, don't worry about it. This is the very first day of February, so there are no real averages right now. If we look at sales volume by area, you can see where properties are selling for and for what price. So again, I don't know SF markets very well, but here you go. This is where Noe Valley, this is where properties are being sold at the most volume, so either most transactions or most dollar amounts. Then Bernal Heights, then Pacific Heights. So let's do the same search for condos. So San Francisco market did really poorly in January for condos. Our days on market went from 51 days to 65 days, and the price have dropped as well. The price is now at 98.8% for the average sales to list price ratio. If we look at the listings by price range, we can see that there's a pretty big mix of different types of single family homes in SF. If we look at the months of inventory, you can see that the months of inventory have increased a little bit compared to how it was. These charts are all over the place, so it's hard to really see it through a graph. But we can see that from December, our months of inventory was at 4.5 months, and now we're at 4.7 months. So it increased by only by a little bit. But you can see this is a huge difference compared to, say, single family homes in the South Bay, where your months of inventory are hovering around 1 month. Here you have 4.5 months. If you look at the number of homes for sale versus sold, you can tell that condos are just not moving in San Francisco, but the inventory is continuing to pile up. So there are a lot of properties probably just sitting on the market, vacant, with no one inside, not making money for the owners. Meanwhile, buyers just aren't looking for this type of property. Let's see what they cost on average. Okay, so on average, you can get a condo for 1.156 and 1.244. I mean, that's interesting too, right? Like, why would I buy a condo in San Francisco for $1.25 million when I can buy a huge single family home 30, 45 minutes away in the South Bay or East Bay, and then enjoy this large backyard with a pool? I could have friends over, I don't have to deal with crazy HOA dues. It just makes more sense to buy, out of this area, unless you really have to. And for most people, because of COVID, they don't have to. So let's just move to sales volume by area. Seems like South Beach is the place to go for condos, then Pac Heights, then Inland Mission. All right, so now let's finish this up and go to Alameda County. So this graph is all messed up because of this one blip back in June, but the days on market here on average have increased by just a little bit, and sales to list price ratio has continued to go up from 107.1 to 108%. Again, I think Alameda County right now is a very healthy market, and if you plan on buying something in the East Bay, prepare to face a lot of competition. If we skip to months of inventory, we can see that the months of inventory have increased by a little bit from 0.4 to 0.6, but still very, very strong. All right, looking at the number of homes sale versus sold, again, in the East Bay, you are selling more properties than you have coming onto the market. So this usually doesn't happen, but when it does, it signifies a super hot market. Let's see how sales prices have changed. So sales prices have increased just a little bit compared to last month. And again, this number is not really representative of anything because it's the first day of February. Let's see what the price range is. So most of these homes are in the sub $1 million price point, and then you have some at 1.2 and 1.4. So looking at sales volume by area, let's change these to cities. And you can see here, Oakland selling the most, and then Fremont, then Pleasanton a little more. And on the very low end side, you have Tracy, Emeryville. Now again, this doesn't represent the full set. I think these are only the listings that also got put into MLS listings. So you might have some listings missing, because I don't really think that there were 0 sales in Tracy over the past year. But it's good to know. If you want to flip houses, if you want something to move quickly, go to Oakland, go to Fremont, go to Pleasanton. All right, and let's finish this up by looking at the condo and townhouse activity in the East Bay. So it looks like the average days on market have increased a little bit, but the sales to list price ratio has also increased by a little bit. The months of inventory have also increased just a little bit from 1.1 to 1.3 months. Seems like there were a little bit more properties that went on the market versus the ones that got sold. Sales price has decreased over time, but again, just by a little bit, from 674 to 666. If we look at the average price range for condos in the East Bay, you can see that most of them are hovering around 600 to 800,000. So I remember seeing this spike also in the South Bay. So I think if you can, and you're in the same price point, why not just go in the South Bay? And if we look at sales volume by area and then change the area to cities, all right, we can see that most of them are in Oakland. And you know what, I'm gonna change this to, let's see, 6 months. Okay, same. Most of them are in Oakland, then Fremont, then Dublin, Hayward. So overall, it seems like the real estate market is healthy, but there are definitely some pockets that you need to watch out for. San Francisco condo market and the Peninsula condo market are taking a huge beating. But that means that there are potential opportunities for people who are very bullish in the San Francisco market. If you think that this whole coronavirus trend of people leaving San Francisco to move to the East Bay is just, a small trend that will revert back, then you can make this huge bet right now and you can invest in San Francisco condos, because right now the prices are super depressed and you can come in with a very strong and competitive offer. You can even lowball the sellers and give them an offer to at least, help them out, and they might accept it. And then over the next 5 to 10 years, as the markets recover, as people move back into San Francisco, your property, could appreciate a lot. And it's really scary to even think about this, because you're looking at a potential trend where it will never recover and people will never move back to San Francisco. But just think about what happened in 2009 to 2012. There were a lot of people who thought that the real estate market would never recover. And whereas there were some people who were buying foreclosures in Sunnyvale for just $400,000 in cash, that same home is now worth over $2 million. It's always scary to make that first bet, especially when no one else is agreeing with you. But this is really where you can potentially make a lot of profit. So I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy a condo today. It's just something to really consider. If you want to buy some real estate and you have a strong feeling that the San Francisco market will recover in the future, I would say buy a condo. You could even buy it at market value, and then by the time it recovers in 4 to 5 years, you could be sitting on a fortune. So let me know your thoughts about the Bay Area real estate market. Again, in general, the market is still doing very well, especially in the East Bay. Overall, the average prices have increased or decreased by just a little bit. The average days on market have also just increased by maybe 1 or 2 days, except for San Francisco condos. And the months of inventory have also increased a little bit in general. Again, this is the winter months, okay? Usually the market is super slow and dead. Right now, the market's still very hot. It's a very strange time that we live in, and definitely take the opportunity now to get into something or sell a property. If you have a property, now could be a great time to sell it. But one thing to keep in mind is that Prop 19 is going to come into effect on April 1st. So you could see a new wave of inventory come out once Prop 19 is actually in play. So let me know your thoughts about the Bay Area market. Leave a comment down below if you think that the market is going to go up or if it's going to start slowing down in the near future. If you guys have enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification to see more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.